LaExcellence IAS Academy ಭರವಸೆಯ ಬೆಳಕು.
Hi friends, welcome to Namma LaEx presents current issue of the day, episode number 28. Welcome back to the series after a long hiatus. Hopefully we'll be regular from now on. So the current issue of the day is Glacial Lake Outburst Floods, that is GLOF. Okay, so very important topic. So in today's video, we are going to discuss why the topic is in news, and we will do a UPSC previous year question regarding the same thing, and then we will understand what is GLOF, and then we will understand how they are formed and what is its impact and what are the mitigation measures. So first, before we move on to the topic, we will see in which part of the syllabus it is covered. The topic is very important. It is covered in both GS1 geography and physical geography as well as GS3 disaster management. Okay, in geography it is more related to the formation of glacial lakes, whereas in disaster management it will be dealing with impacts, mitigation and NDMA guidelines. So the context is, the reason why we are discussing this topic is, recently the Uttarakhand government has constituted a team of experts to evaluate the risk posed by the Glacial Lake Outburst Floods. Okay, we'll look more into the topic. So this is gist of the topic and gist of the topics we are going to discuss today. So before we move on to the next topic, let us do a practice question. Okay, since the topic we are dealing with is related to geography, so a practice question for you which was asked in 2018 UPSC, I guess. So Gandikota Canyon of South India was created by which of the following rivers? So pause the video and write down in the comment your answer for the question. So options are option A Kaveri, option B Manjira, option C Penna river, and option D Tungabhadra river. Okay, the reason why I choose this topic is Glacial Lake is a geographical erosional phenomenon. So Gandikota Canyon is also a river formation landform. So I thought better to choose a similar topic. So hopefully we'll answer this question in the comment box. And then moving on to the main topic. Before we understand what is the Glacial Lake Outburst Flood, we have to understand what is Glacial Lake. Okay, so Glacial Lake is, suppose like this. So these are the Himalayas and this is certain mountain and this is the basin here. Okay, what happens here is, in Himalayas, because of the cold climate, there will be glaciers. What are glaciers? These are the thick ice. Okay, these glaciers, they will be very huge in the size. So during the winter time, their size grows a lot and they will keep on growing, and because of their sheer mass, they will move into the land and create a hole like this in the region. And during the winter, because of their mass, they will create a hole, and when it is summer, because of the sunlight, the glacial mass starts retreating back. What happens here is, so this part of the glacier moves back, creating a hollow here, and because there is a hollow, what happens here is the glacial melt, that is the ice melts and the river or the water flows into this area, and this part becomes the glacial lake. Okay, so this is the how a glacial lake is formed in the Himalayan regions. It is not just Himalayas, it is in the regions where there is glaciers are present. Okay, so this is how normally a glacial lake is formed. So here you can read it. So glacial lake is from when melt water from the glaciers accumulates in a depressions. Okay, what I told, a hole or in depressions, there melt water from the glaciers will be accumulating there on top of the glaciers. So here again, as I explained, the retreating glaciers like several in the Himalayas usually result in the formation of lakes at their tips, and called the proglacial lakes, often bound only by the sediments and the boulders. Okay, so you can see here in the image. So this is the glacial bed and this is the glacier. During the winter, what happens here is, because of their sheer mass, they will be pressing into the lake and creating a depression here, and during the summer, what happens is they will start melting and resulting in the formation of this lake. So as you can see, there is an example of glacial lake here. So these are the mountains here and these are the glaciers here. Because of the depression formed by the glaciers, like water will be filled in the lakes. Okay, this is the glacial lake. So these are held together by the sediments that are lateral moraine and terminal moraines. Okay, so the moraines form as a bed like this. So these are the moraines and this depression is filled by water. Okay, so glacial lake is a glacial landform formed due to the combination of erosion and weathering. Okay, so this is glacial lake. Now we will understand what is the glacial lake outburst flood. Okay. So the glacial lake outburst flood is a sudden and often catastrophic release of the water from the glacial lake, typically caused by a breach in the natural dam formed by a glacier or glacial moraine. So what happens here is, as we saw, so this is the mountain and in the depressions there will be water filled and this will act as a natural dam. What is this? A moraine. Okay, it acts as a natural dam. So as we saw, during the winter a glacier will move into the lakes, causing the bulge in the water, and in the summer what happens here is it will start melting and releasing more water into the region. And whenever there is water which is so huge that it will break this natural dam, that is moraine, and it will flood into the lower plains, causing floods. Okay, so this is actually glacial lake outburst floods. There are many reasons why there is a flood due to glacial lakes. We will see the reasons afterwards, and this is the normal way how a glacial lake results in the flood. This is called as glacial lake outburst flood because it is bursting out of its lakes. That is why it is called as GLOF. So these floods can pose significant threats to the downstream communities. Okay, the communities which are lying in the plain regions, here you can see it will cause a great threat to these communities. Again, you can see here. So this is the mountain here, and on top of the mountains there is glaciers, and this is the glacier tips. What happens here is, because of the various reasons, the glacier starts breaking here. This is called as calving. Okay, this tip of the glacier breaks down in the water, and when it breaks down, it results in the formation of a wave which overtops the moraine dam, that is a natural dam, and results in the flooding of lower regions. So again, similar thing is explained here. So glacial lakes, glaciers will be falling into here and flooding, and it will result in the death and destruction in the lower communities. So this is what the glacial lake outburst flood is. Now we will see the reasons behind glacial lake outburst. So reasons for the glacial lake outburst is pressure and weakening. Okay, so as we saw, this is the depression, water will be present here, and over the time as the glacier starts melting, the more and more water starts accumulating here. Because of the accumulation of more waters, the pressure keeps on building in this region. Okay, whenever there is more pressure results in weakening of the region. That is, it weakens the natural dam, and after a certain period of time, because of the heavy pressure, it starts bursting out of its region. Okay, so first and foremost reason is pressure and weakening of the landform. And then breach or overflow. Again, similar thing. Whenever the dam or the natural barriers weaken or fail, the water stored in the glacial lake is released suddenly. Okay, this was one of the reason behind the 2023 October, okay, GLOF in Sikkim. What happened in Sikkim is, there was a river, Tista river, which flows from Jemu glaciers or Jemu glacier. Okay, and in the Jemu glacier they have built a Tista 3 dam. Okay, they have built a dam which is called as Tista 3, which holds the water from Jemu glacier as well as the Tista river. What happened here is, because of the glacial lakes present in the Jemu glacier, and due to the weathering and overflowing of this region, more water started accumulating in the dam which was man-made, and over the time even the dam was not able to hold the water which is coming from the glacier. It resulted in the bursting of this dam, and the water started flooding in the region, resulting in the death of more than 100 people. Okay, so this is one of the reasons behind glacial lake outburst. So do remember these kind of examples. These will be very important when you are writing a mains answer. Okay, you can use these as an example. And then other reasons is glacial calving, what I explained in the previous slide. Okay, so glacial calving is this is, so glacier, and in the tip of the glacier starts breaking off and falling in the river. Okay, as a huge chunks of glacier start breaking and falling in the river, it will result in the overflowing and leads to burst. Okay, so then other important reasons are avalanches. What is avalanches? So this is a mountain again. On top of mountains there will be like ice and glaciers will be present here. Because of some reasons, because of geological or earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, what happens is the ice along with the debris present here start moving down the region. Okay, they will start moving down because of the slope. Okay, because of the slope as well as the effect of gravity. Okay, so because of the slope as well as the effect of gravity, the ice and the boulders and other sediments present in the mountains start moving in the down slope with a huge amount of velocity and with the main pressure. Okay, as soon as it starts moving down, if certain there is a suppose there is a glacial lake present here, and the avalanches starts and fills this lake, and which results in again another hazard called as GLOF. Another thing is earthquakes again. So earthquakes, what happens is because of the seismic activities, because earthquake our Himalayas is present in the seismic zone here, because of the faults and tremors present in the interior of the Himalayas, it may lead to shaking of the earth. Whenever the water land starts shaking, to result in the overflooding of glacial lakes again. Another thing is volcanic activities again. So volcanic eruptions similar to earthquakes can lead to the melting of glaciers, and which will again release the massive amounts of water and lead to flooding. And other things is human activities. So human activities such as mining, construction, deforestation, and the variety of glacial lakes can destabilize the natural barriers. Okay, so whatever the barriers are present here, moraines may destabilize and result in the risk of GLOF. So these are certain reasons. So do remember these reasons, which will be helpful in writing a mains answer. Do expect a question from GLOF in both prelims as well as mains this year, because it is in the news. And in GS3 disaster management, UPSC tends to ask questions which are in the current affairs. So maybe this becomes a very important topic for that type. So do write down these type of points. These acts as a fodder material for your mains answer. And then after this, we will see why it is very dangerous. Okay. So it is not a rocket science, because it comes with a heavy pressure and heavy velocity with a huge amount of water. So the amount of water, whatever the communities present in the lower downstreams, okay, because of the pressure of water coming down with the high velocity, it will lead to death and destructions here. Similar, that is what. So water release will be in the rapid. The water release can flow downstreams at high velocity and carrying with it rocks, debris, and sediments. It is similar to landslide or avalanches. Okay, landslide or avalanches. Whereas in landslide and avalanches, there are debris, like dry debris along with ice and air. Here, along with the debris, there will be water included. So it will become more dangerous compared to avalanches and landslides. And this flood water can devastate valleys and river systems and downstream regions, causing extensive damage to infrastructure, farmlands, and settlements. So this is an image from the recent Sikkim, okay, flood, glacial lake outburst floods. Okay, so how the region below the floods have filled with the sediments and water here. So it is very dangerous disaster. And then we will see what are the impact of glacial lake outburst. As with any type of hazard or disaster, what will be the impacts will be? First thing will be death and destruction. Okay, so death and destructions of human beings and biodiversity. present in that region, and the destruction of farmlands and infrastructure and everything present there. And then what happens here is it will also have an impact on livelihood. Okay, impact on livelihood because the transportation, communication, everything comes to a standstill. And what are the other reasons? What will be the other impacts here? So similar with any other kinds of earthquakes or any other kinds of disasters. So other important impacts will be, again, as I explained here, loss of life and property. These are the points which everyone is going to rate in the answer. But what makes your answer different is give examples. Because as I explained here, GLOF in Sikkim led to death of 18 people and more than 150 missing. So with these examples, with these kind of examples, you stand out more than the previous person who wrote your answer, who wrote the answer. Okay. So then another GLOF in Uttarakhand in June 2013. We all saw the famous images of Kedarnath temple which is flooded by water, and in 2013 what happened here is because of GLOF plus cloud burst. What is cloud burst? Sudden burst of rainfall. Both resulted in the flooding of Uttarakhand in 2013, which resulted in more than 5,000 deaths. Okay, it was documented over the worldwide, so it was a very important event. Again, Uttarakhand, and then again, as I told, disruption in the livelihoods. Okay, so as you can see, the glaciers are mostly present in the Himalayan and northeastern regions. Okay, Himalayan northeastern regions. What these states, the states present in these regions, okay, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, okay, Uttarakhand here, Sikkim and northeastern Arunachal Pradesh. What are these states famous for? That is tourism, right? So tourism, when there is dearth of communication and transportation, there will be no tourism, which will directly impact the livelihood of the local people. So livelihood of the local people, and then again damage to the infrastructure and environment. Okay, it will anyway damage the infrastructure. Again, it will also damage the environment. What happens is these regions have a very less amount of fertile soils. Okay, because of this flooding and weathering, if even the top layer of the fertile soils gets bleached away by the sediments, and then the soil whichever is little bit of fertile, even that gets dragged away. So this becomes again barren land. Okay, so it will also have impact on environment. That is very important. And then again transboundary impact. Okay, this is a different point from what of the other points which everyone will be rating. What is transboundary impact is, I will give an example that will make you understand it better. Okay, so transboundary impact, I will give an example. So this is our India, Jammu and Kashmir, which shares a border with China. Okay, so there is a river called as Satluj, we all know, which originates at Raksastal or Rakastal. Okay, it originates from here and it starts flowing into the Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Okay, first it starts in Himachal Pradesh and then move to Punjab and joins the like Panchanabs. Okay, so what happens here is, this is the transboundary, okay, between India and China. What happens here is, the lake or the glacial lakes which are present in the upper streams of Satluj, when they start bursting, it will result in the flooding of Himachal Pradesh. Okay, which will result in the flooding of Himachal Pradesh. Though the origin for the disaster is in other country, the impact will be felt in the another country. These are the transboundary impact. Okay, so these are some points, important points, which will make your answer more beautiful and it will make you stand out. So do remember these kind of examples. Satluj river, okay, Satluj river, and it will lead to bursting of Himachal Pradesh. So these are the impacts. We have seen the reason, we have seen the impact, we have seen why they are so dangerous. Now we will see the mitigation and how vulnerable India is. Okay, we will see how vulnerable India is. Okay, so vulnerability mapping has already been done by ISRO. According to ISRO's Glacial Lake Atlas, ISRO's National Remote Sensing Center has released Glacial Lake Atlas. Okay, Himalayan river basins. The atlas was prepared using the images from Resource-2 satellite. Okay, Resource-2 satellite was launched by ISRO. With the help of that satellite, India, like ISRO's one of the organizations called as National Remote Sensing Center, has created the Glacial Lake Atlas. According to this, it has identified over 28,000 glacial lakes that are larger than 0.25 hectares. So there are more than 25,000, 28,000 lakes, glacial lakes are present in the Indian Himalayan region. So the vulnerability is high. Okay. Along with this glacial lake, the region in like Himalayan region present in the northern India, it stands on the what is a seismic zone. Okay, the Himalayas are a fold mountains formed by the compression from Eurasian plate and Indo-Australian plate. So there is always a seismic activity happening below the Himalayas. So because of the combination of this seismic activity and the presence of large number of glacial buds, the vulnerability obviously increases more. And then if we are talking about particular states, Sikkim, Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir are more prone to glacial lake outburst. So in Sikkim, the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority has identified more than 300 glacial lakes in the state, and out of these 10 have been classified vulnerable to outburst floods. Okay, the Sikkim region, again it is in the bed of Himalayas, seismic activity, so there are more chances of outburst. And then Uttarakhand, so it is famously or infamously prone to these kind of disasters: landslide, avalanches, glacial lake outbursts, cloud bursts, etc., etc. Because of so many vulnerabilities, this GLOF again becomes a danger for this particular state. Okay, so in this region, 5 highly sensitive glaciers have been identified to fall in the A category. The A category in the mean sense is the risk is very high. Okay, so actually there are 486 glacial lake present in Uttarakhand. Out of this, 13 are considered vulnerable, and out of 13, 5 have been categorized into A because of the risk is very high. These glacial lakes, okay, just remember these kind of glacial lakes. At least remember these lakes in which state these lakes are present. Important lakes are Vasundhara Tal, which is in the Dhauli Ganga basin, and then other 4 lakes are Maban Lake in Yasar Langti Valley, Pyungru Lake in Dharma Basin, and another unclassified lake in Dharma Basin, and another unclassified lake in Kuti Yangti Valley. Okay, these kind of questions UPSC tend to pick it out of context and give it in your prelims questions. So just try to remember in which state these glaciers are present or these lakes are present. Okay, so Vasundhara Lake and Maban Lake, Pyungru Lake, and unclassified lakes in Dhamra and Kungti Yangi Valley. So as we can see, India is very highly vulnerable to glacial lake outburst. So now the thing is, what do we do? Okay, what are the mitigation? How can we escape from the death of GLOF? So for that, NDMA has released certain guidelines. We will see the guidelines. So important guidelines released by NDMA are: first thing is identifying the potentially dangerous lake. We know there are so many lakes, and 28,000 lakes have been identified as GLOF. Out of this, certain lakes will be highly prone. So we have to identify these highly prone regions or highly dangerous lakes. So we have to recognize the potential dangerous lakes, and we should do multidisciplinary approach. For this, we should do field observations, and we have to look into historical records, meaning has there ever been a disaster caused by this particular lake? If so, then we have to look into it, or we have to observe it more carefully, and then analyze the geographical, geomorphological and geotechnical characteristics, and it will help in identifying the high risk areas. Okay, so this is how you can identify dangerous lakes. Now we have identified the dangerous lakes. What we have to do? How do you mitigate the potential risk from that? For that, we have to use the technology. With the use of technology, there will be synthetic aperture radar. It is a radar which will help in enhancing the early warning systems. Okay, early warning system acts as a very important tool during the hazards. And then this technology can detect the changes in water bodies, monitor glacier movements, and identify new lake formations, especially during the monsoon seasons. Because of the over flooding or because of the rainfall, there is a chance of formation of lakes every monsoon season. So this synthetic aperture radar, which will identify and detect the changes in water bodies. So by detecting these changes, it can help more in the early warning system. Okay, so another thing is, so first we identified the risk, and then we thought of using the technology. Then we have to do is, we have to channel the potential floods, okay, such as controlled breaching, pumping out the water, and tunnel construction can help lower the water volume. Suppose this is the region and this lake is considered to be highly vulnerable or highly risky. So what we can do is, we can use these methods, that is controlled breaching. We have to just breach certain parts of certain point of here, so that the water can slowly move out instead of bursting at us one at a time. And then pumping out the water with the use of motor pumps and other agents. And we can also build a tunnel in the regions so that the water can move out slowly. Okay, so these are the other methods. And then uniform codes for the construction activity. Okay, so suppose the hazard actually happens, which will turn into disaster. Okay, when it will turn into disaster, when it can impact more infrastructure and more number of people. So what we have to do is, we have to form uniform codes for the construction activities. Whatever the, we have to consider the geological and hydrological risk and incorporate the measures to mitigate this risk in the construction projects. If you are going to build a large scale construction such as dams or any factory or any industries, then we have to look into these risks, and we have to form a code for these construction activities, and someone who breaks this code has to be punished, or without the code they should not be allowed to build their projects there. And then we have to enhance early warning systems with the use of technologies such as implementing the sensors and monitoring based technical systems. For GLOF, early warning is vital, so it can provide timely information at risk communities. And then is training the local manpower. Okay, so whenever there is a disaster, so the main important thing to do here is keeping the community safe. To keep those communities safe, we need the help of disaster management authority and the force, but it will take time for the forces or NDMA forces, NDF, National Disaster Management Forces, to arrive into the region or the area. So for that, we have to build a proper manpower from the local communities itself. Local community, they should be trained on how to handle the situations. So they play a crucial role in disaster response and preparedness. Training the local personnel can help the rapid and effective response of the GLOF. Okay, till the forces come into the particular area and help in the region, we have to train the local communities so that they can help in the rapid and effective response to GLOF. So this was today's topic. Hope you like the topic, and if you have any doubts or queries, do write in the comment, and also like and share and subscribe to the channel and help us reach the algorithm better. And if you want any other topics to be discussed in the classes, do write in the comment. And from the team of LaExcellence, we are sorry for the delay in bringing these topics again. And with saying this, I will conclude the today's topics. Thank you one and all.